Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show podcast. One of the cool things about doing this podcast is I get to meet some very, very sharp people along the way. And we get to ask some great questions and learn a lot about things on the road ahead and share them with you so you can have a better practice and a better life. And I met a very cool person named Florian Hillen. And he shared with me how AI could be better in dentistry than in healthcare. And we cover a lot of cool ground today. It's a very cool conversation. So make sure you listen. Hope you enjoy it. And we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. I love this because I get to see a lot of cool things and find some very cool people out there in the world to bring you some great information to help you create a better practice and a better life. And this whole AI thing is a big conversation in dentistry. You're either excited by it or you're a little threatened by it. And today we're going to be talking to an amazing individual who is on the cutting edge of where this will go. And I love the vision behind it. And his name is Florian Hillen. And we're going to be talking about how AI could ultimately be way better in dentistry than healthcare altogether. So Florian, thanks for being on. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kirk, for joining and having me join. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to go right there. And AI, while it's exciting, it's also threatening, and it's more than Chat GPT. Maybe we can just start here. Like, where are we on the map with AI? What is it? And how do you see AI in this whole process? And let me just say this. You're not just somebody who's putting your toe in the water. I mean, you're an former MIT researcher. So you've been involved with AI for very, very, very long time. So maybe you can kind of define it and help us better understand the conversation today.
Yeah, happy to. And it's absolutely a buzzword of the time, right? And so, yes, as you said, like I spent most of my time in healthcare and AI. And so there is not a clear definition of AI, artificial intelligence. But as you could think about it, artificial intelligence is really machine learning, meaning that you have systems trained on very large amounts of data. And then what they all have in common, that there's an input, and then there's a training in the middle, and then there's an output. And that is what's common. So let me give you 3 examples of AI. Number 1 is ranking AI, and that is your Google or it is your Netflix. So for instance, you're going on Netflix and you're watching, all the seasons of Game of Thrones. That's probably on HBO, but you get the gist. So you watch all of these episodes and you love it because they can track that you watched every single episode all the way through. So that's the input. Then there's a trained system based on the watching behavior of everyone else who has Netflix. And then there are a lot of people like you who watched Game of Thrones and they also watch this show. And then now the output for you is, hey, you like this show, maybe this is recommended for you. So that is piece of AI. The second type of AI is natural language processing. And that is, for instance, your Alexa or your Siri on your phone, right? The input is, hey, Alexa, what is the weather like today? And then it's trained on lots of voices of lots of accents, like, for instance, mine. Like back in the days, they didn't understand the German accent. Now they do, right? And then the output is the weather is that degree and it's sunny, right? So that's natural language processing using voice. And then the third type of AI, and there are more, but overall you can bucket these AIs into those different categories, is computer vision, meaning on images, right? And that, for instance, Kirk, is autonomous driving, right? Like, oh, there's a stop sign. That's the input. And then the output is that the Tesla brakes, right? And for instance, imaging AI is what our company VideaHealth also does, where we take x-rays and diagnose them automatically and provide a suggested treatment plan. So that's also based on images, x-rays, right? So it's pretty exciting. Now, I'm getting asked this question a lot because there's this buzz around ChatGPT, which is a phenomenal technology. And that, for instance, would be under the category of natural language processing. So instead of voice, it is text, right? So it's text. You have an input. Hey, summarize this in this quote. It uses this large language model of ChatGPT, which is the word of it. That's the training of it. And the output is then what you see. So it flips into one of those categories, if that makes sense. So that's what AI, on a high level is. Now, I think we could fill the entire podcast about like threat versus opportunities. I do believe that this is an industry-wide disruption. And I think similar to when we had the industrialization, or every time we have like a very new technology, lots of things are changing. But I truly believe they will change for the better, right? And they will, in dentistry in particular, I think they will enable clinicians to finally spend more time with their patients to build this patient-provider relationship and trust, and also make the job much more fun, while it helps them on diagnostic as well as automates a lot of administrative tasks. So I think there's a huge opportunity. Besides, right now, we have way too little talent anyways. We really need to make the most of the talent we have. So I'm very excited about where AI is going in general, and then also in particular in dentistry.
Yeah. Maybe you can talk to some of the problems that AI solves that dentists have dealt with for so long, that would make it a partner for the future instead of a threat.
Yeah, that's a great question how you frame this. I think there are lots of them, right? But like, let's think a little bit about it. I think there are problems pre-office visit, during the office visit, and maybe post-office visit. I think pre-office visit is all about patient engagement, scheduling, right? Scheduling appointments, etc. I think there we will see AI relatively quickly being introduced at chatbots, etc., where you can have a natural feeling discussion with the office of when you should schedule or reschedule your appointments. And it helps the provider because you can be super responsive also on the weekend, but you don't need to be online all the time. And also it optimizes your schedule. And I, as a patient, I don't feel that I'm getting all of the sudden cancellation. So that's huge. Then during the patient visit, right? I think one of the biggest challenges we've been seeing is that there's a huge information asymmetry between the dentist as well as the hygienist and the patient, right? The dentist knows exactly, okay, this cavity is all the way through the enamel and into the dentin, and it needs a filling. But now the patient, I don't understand that. So there's a huge suspicion, right, of the patient if you really need this treatment. And to be honest with you, this suspicion towards the provider is actually in dentistry larger than in any other healthcare domain. And one of the reasons is because in healthcare, where I was before, is you have a radiologist who does a diagnosis, but then the surgeon confirms it. So you have a lot of confirmations vertically and horizontally, which you do not have in dentistry. You only have this one provider who does everything, diagnosis to treatment. So there's this mistrust, unfortunately, to some extent. And I think it's not justified. And so where we help, for instance, in that aspect is that we have FDA approved algorithms, Kirk. Okay. So you can imagine you are a dentist, and you are taking the x-rays, or the hygienist takes the x-rays, or the assistant. We automatically source this into our AI-powered x-ray viewer, which we call VideaAI, and it points out all the potential cavities. It points out the radiographic bone loss. It points out the calculus, etc. And it then visualizes it to the provider to make, an informed treatment decision. But most of all, also to the patient, so they see an ad hoc second opinion. So where we've seen this is it helps tremendously with treatment acceptance. Like the treatment acceptance increased by over 20% of our customers because they are communicating with this AI, the treatment plan, right? So that's where it helps. Like it helps with transparency and treatment communication. And I think also then post-visit and administratively in terms of treatment planning, charting, claim submission, all of these front office tasks, which take a lot of time and are not fun, right? And take away time from the entire staff to spend it with the patient. All of that, I think, will be automated to a large extent in the next 2 years. And so we are pretty excited about it. And we are working here at VideaHealth. We are working, like we have tons of engineers and AI engineers working on that to solve these issues. So the clinicians can spend more time on either the treatment or the patient communication, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And one of the things that we chatted about before we hit the go button is this is not in a couple of years, or it's around the corner, or it's 10 years down the road. It's now. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So it's pretty phenomenal to observe that, to be honest with you. Like for 3 years, our company honestly has been an R&D company, right? A research and development company. We needed to build algorithms with millions of images, hundreds of dentists, where we are able to prove that the dentist with the algorithm together can diagnose more accurately than the dentist alone. And so there was a lot of research and development. But we are live in the market now for, soon a year, a couple of months. And we are seeing incredible results. We have already over thousands of dentists using our software. We are diagnosing already millions of patients right now, right? And we do know every second patient, anecdotally from our FDA studies, that every second patient we diagnose, we identify a treatment which maybe otherwise wouldn't have been identified. So there's an impact which is happening right now, right? So it is probably, I heard a statistic that VideaAI is the fastest selling product in the last 2 decades in dentistry.
Really?
So that's pretty phenomenal because it's as disruptive as intraoral or digital X-ray, right? But at the same time, it's a software product. So all your listeners right now, they can go on videa.ai or videahealth.ai either, and they can request a demo and they can install it in 30 minutes and then the AI enabled. There's no, you have to ship something or there's no hardware component to it. It's a software, right? So it is now in the sense that we are already diagnosing millions of patients right now. But then also, every one of your listeners, if you, for instance, have Dentrix or Dentrix Ascend, we have a partnership with Henry Schein that we are already integrated in over 30,000 practices right now. Right now, we are integrating them, but we are not live yet. But you just have to flip a switch. And so every dentist here who has Dentrix or Dentrix Ascend, they could contact us or Henry Schein and they could flip it on within 5 minutes. That's pretty incredible. And then everyone else who has a different practice management system, we are integrating a top 10, they can reach out to us and we can get them up and running incredibly quick as well. So it's a now thing and not even a next thing because we have already tons of people adopting it and we have great success stories of like patients converting treatment. Patients want to go to the dentist who uses AI because they want this second opinion. And we also have dentists who are reaching out all the time to give us more product feedback and what else they want, which is from a software perspective, that's the most amazing thing it can happen because that's how we can build an even better product, right? Like to get this feedback, like I even and my entire team, we get text messages from dentists who are using our product saying like, could you do this? Could you do that? Can you source automatically as an example? This is based on product feedback. We are now sourcing automatically the past x-rays of a patient. Okay, so Kirk, you are coming in and you were there last year and you are coming in this again. We are diagnosing both of your x-rays. We are taking the past x-ray and we are identifying the same decay. And then we can show you how much your decay grew in the last 12 months to explain like the progression of disease, because the progression of disease is much more relevant than the state of disease. So those are all things which we are building together with our clients. And that's incredible. And I must say, you mentioned this in the beginning. Before I did AI research in breast cancer and healthcare. But what is so phenomenal in dentistry, and I really love this space, I've been in it now for 5 years, is that all of our clients are entrepreneurs themselves. They are business people themselves. They're clinicians themselves. So they are very innovative. So they help us a lot to build the best product we can.
Yeah, I love it. Maybe you could speak to the FDA process. How difficult is that? And why is that so important to the AI process?
Yeah. So it is a pretty difficult, expensive, and strenuous process. So if you think about the COVID-19 vaccine, there were 2 companies who got FDA clearance, right? Pfizer and Moderna. And honestly, our process is very similar to theirs. So what it does is we are giving a lot of dentists which need to fill a lot of categories. Like they need to have different age, gender, they need to have different tenure of experience. and we let them diagnose a certain set of patients without AI. And then we let them diagnose the same certain sets of patients, but this time with our AI. And what we need to show is that the AI and the dentist together, and that's very important for me, it's not against each other, together are better than the dentist alone. And so that process takes up to years. It's pretty expensive. But it is also very important because we want our customers to know this AI, it improves the identification of true decay or of true periodontal disease or of true endodontic disease, right? Periapical radiolucent lesions, periodontal disease, radiographic bone loss, decay, all the way from incipient decay to decay, which is all the way into the pulp. And it helps you to identify more true disease and doesn't increase the mistakes and the false positives, what we call it. So that's why I think FDA is important, number one, for us to have the trust for our customers. Then number two, it is important so the customers can actually use it because the FDA is saying it has an impact on patients. Right. And so that's regulated by the United States. And so we need to ensure that it elevates patient care and it doesn't diminish it, right? And so we prove it in those studies. And these studies are incredibly rigorous, by the way, Kirk. We are talking about thousands of pages. We have statistician on board and all of that. So that's why this is important. And that is also, if it's FDA approved, the dentist can then use it to also, communicate this to the patients, which is incredibly useful, as I mentioned earlier, because honestly, dentists are awesome in general in diagnosing, etc. It just helps them to communicate the treatment plan also to the patient. And that's important. And for that, we need FDA approval. Exactly. But so we have an entire research team. We have over 100 dentists on staff, actually, who help us with this. We have machine learning engineers and scientists from top universities and other AI companies, let that be Google or other AI startups. So we have a pretty experienced and tenured team to do that, which is also important for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And go back to the communication piece. One of the things I love about your vision here is you actually can see this is a great time for dentistry, and it will eventually surpass healthcare as far as one of the best communicators. Can you explain that and how you see that?
Yeah. So super shortly on the communication piece, etc. And it's really interesting. So I was actually just yesterday, I visit every month customers who are using our product. And, I was a patient. I'm going as a patient. So I want to see how they use it. And it's pretty phenomenal how dentists and also hygienists are using it. So there are two ways. They are looking at the screen, like, the patient shares like this, and then they have a screen which the patient doesn't see immediately. And sometimes they have then another patient screen, right, where they showcase it to the patient. And so the first thing is on the screen, they see themselves. They're looking, the first time when the dentist comes in, they're looking at the screen and they see our AI detections. And so they are confirming them and they make up a treatment plan. And then they're showing the X-ray without our AI detections, without the caries boxes, etc., which are visualizations. So we have nice visualizations, right? They show the X-ray without the AI to the patient, and they say, "Hey, look here. There's the decay, and you see it's all the way, from the enamel to the dentin, and you need to fill in." And now we have this new technology, this AI, and then they switch on the AI, and the AI shows also this decay, right, and confirms what they were just explaining to the patient. And we have this AI which is trained on millions of patients, right, by hundreds of dentists, and it confirms that as well. So we want to give you confidence that we really do the best in class dentistry here. And so that's how they are using it as a patient communications tool, if that makes sense. It also helps a lot between like hygienists and dentists to preheat as a hygienist to already communicate some of the findings to the patient while they're waiting on the dentist. And so they're really aligned, which is really nice. I mean, they're not diagnosing, but they can show the radiographic bone loss on perio and so on. So that's why it's an amazing communication tool. Now, to your second part of the question, as I mentioned earlier, I was in radiology before, breast cancer. And I think the problem is in radiology that AI, to some extent, did threaten the jobs of radiologists, because that's what radiologists do. They sit in a dark chamber, right? And all day, they are diagnosing different X-rays or CT scans or MRI scans. Now, in dentistry, it's a little bit different. A dentist has a lot of jobs. They are a businessman, a woman. They are a diagnostician. they are a primary care physician, and they are a surgeon, right? Like it's 4 jobs in one, which is honestly pretty phenomenal that they can do it actually, right? So now we are only supporting them in the diagnostic part at this point, as well as we automate a lot of processes. And so it's not competitive at all, because what we just want them to do is we want them to save time, as well as be able to communicate it to the patient clearly. And so what we are predicting, Kirk, is that the adoption of diagnostic AI will, in the next 2 years, significantly surpass the adoption of AI in healthcare, meaning in radiology. And I think we are absolutely on track of that. Like we are already used, as I mentioned, by over 1,000 dentists. We diagnose over, I think, a couple of million patients per year now. So the adoption is rapid, and I'm very excited about it. And I think if I can be so frank, Kirk, to make just a prediction, and we can have another podcast in a year and 2 years and see if I'm right or wrong, okay? But I do believe that in the next 2 years, AI-supported diagnostics and dentistry will become, to some extent, the standard of care, and patients will also request that. At least I can speak from my own experience yesterday being at the dentist and seeing our AI. Like I would like to have that. And then number 2, I do believe it will elevate or it will enable dentistry in the long run to get to medical dental integration. And that is also what our company, that's why it's called VideaHealth, by the way. Videre means to improve overall health, is about. I do believe with massive amounts of data, we can do studies with AI and machine learning where we can actually show if you have certain age, gender, certain, diabetic, etc., certain other medical conditions, and then you have this bone loss, this calculus, and all of that, you have a very high risk of being diabetic or have hypertension. And then we can flag that, and we can request them to send to a primary care physician. And I think that's how, actually not healthcare will go into dentistry. I think dentistry will go into healthcare. And that's our vision for the company, that we enable medical dental integration in the long run.
Yeah, you proactively answered the question I was going to ask, which is anyone's guess. What's the future look like? And so I'm going to hold you to that. We're going to have a podcast in a year, and even 2 years time, and see how close we are to that.
Let's do it. I think that sounds great.
Can I ask you, what do most people get wrong in dentistry about AI as you're out having the conversation with them?
That's a great question. I think especially experienced dentists, they think it's AI versus them, and they think that I don't need AI. And I think I totally understand where this is coming from. But at the end of the day, we see AI similar to digital radiography. Like when we had phosphor plates, everyone was like, oh, I don't need digital radiographs. But at the end of the day, it's just another toolbox which makes things easier, faster, better, right? And so I think it is a toolbox which just supports the dentists in making their treatment plan as well as converting it. But it's not in any way or form should cut the autonomy of the dentist. That always will stay. And I think that is what we are facing, not in young dentists and not in hygienists, but especially in experienced dentists, is that they see it as challenging them. And one of the things which is awesome, Kirk, and I want to share this with you right now, I would love to write a big research paper about this at some point. Right now, I just don't find the time for it. But what is pretty amazing is the following. The dentist is that good, and the AI is that good. And what really is the story is that AI and dentists together are that good. So what I mean by that is that where the AI is really good at, the dentist is not so great at, and that is just like being consistent, like don't have not being sleepy, haven't slept well, or you are already in the office for 9 hours and now comes like new patients, right? Like being impatient or whatnot. That just happens. We are humans. So the AI is always on point. It never sleeps and so on. Now the dentist is much better to take the input from the AI and then form a holistic treatment plan, right? Know the patient, right? Know the history of the patient, sees the patient, sees the skin color, understands how they are feeling, understands fears and all of that, right? The AI is terrible at that, right? So bringing the strength of a dental clinician with lots of experience, and being human, so to say, together with the AI is just like a win-win. And it's really a partnership. It's nothing against. It's like together they are better, if that makes sense. It's pretty magical, to be honest. But yeah, that's sometimes misunderstood.
Yeah, very well said. Well, we're often misunderstanding things we don't completely understand, maybe. So we tell ourselves. So
you're right, absolutely wise. And it's young, right? Like nonetheless,
right.
like I'm excited. I'm sharing with you, that we have so many people excited about our software and all of that. But overall, it's still young. Like dental AI didn't exist 2 years ago, so to say, right? But it's still young. So I totally understand that. But I think we will hear more and more stories of clinicians and patients and hygienists. So I think that will change.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, any last thoughts you have, Florian? And we're going to talk about where people can go to actually get started with this if they want. But any last thoughts you have on the future, where AI is headed, and its role in dentistry?
Yeah, I think AI is now, which is very exciting. So the things we've talked about, Kirk, that's not future or anything. We are helping our clients right now to save time as well as get higher treatment acceptance, by improving patient communication right now. I also do believe that this is the future, and in 2 years it becomes the standard of care and patient will demand it. But I'm very excited about it because there will just happen more and more stuff around automation of strenuous tasks. And so I would honestly just encourage your listeners, who are obviously very innovative, I mean, they're listening to your podcast, innovative clinicians, to reach out and give it a try, right? And see for themselves if it helps them. And I'm convinced it would be. So I would just encourage them to reach out at VideaHealth.ai and try it out.
Yeah. So we're going to provide. So if you're not taking notes, the jam around here, we take notes for you. So if you flip up to the notes in the podcast, wherever you're listening, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon, you're going to see everything that we've discussed during the podcast. And so, Florian, if I'm listening, where should I go? We're going to put this in the links, but where do you want people that are listening to go?
They should go to VideaHealth.ai, VIDEA, and then health.ai. That is our website, and it has a lot of great information, and you can book a demo. And if you are on all the common PMS systems, you can get onboarded next week and try it out.
Yeah, awesome. I really, really appreciate this. And so I am going to volunteer you for a future episode so we can do an update. What do you think?
I would love that. I really would love that. I do want to leave maybe with one note, Kirk.
Please.
We really founded the company because we believe we can have a big positive impact. It is one of the few things. So I studied medicine for 6 years and then dropped out 1 year before my MD because we truly believe that this is a win-win. It's a win for the patient, it's a win for the dentist, and a win for the company. And that's not so often. So we are very excited about advancing health and have a huge impact together with our customers. So very excited and would love to have another podcast for you to keep me accountable on it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Florian, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And stick around while we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. This stuff is exciting. And I know I need to learn more about it. And so keep checking this out. And we're going to continue to add more and more education around this to help you guys provide, a better practice, a better life for everybody involved. So check out the show notes and keep sending us suggestions for things that you guys want to see. You're going to see, we're going to line them up continuously. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.